Someone asked me recently about how to play a saga of games and experiencing the whole arc. I never thought about this before because it's such a time investment, but it is true. The current state of cloud gaming already allows to play full sagas, the same way you will binge watch several seasons of a show you like. And it turns out there are quite a few great sagas. Let's check some of the main ones. Okay, so first, just so that I don't have to make a list of 5 million games, I'm going to consider a saga if it has at least 3 games and they are somehow connected story-wise, either the same character or even better a consistent chronology. That means I'm not going to bring here games that just have first and second part, such as Divinity Original Sin or The Division, since they don't even reach the trilogy. And obviously I'm not going to bring sport or simulation games, since story-wise they have no sort of continuity. You might love strategy games like Civilization, but I don't think anybody plays them in order to follow the story. So let's get into it. Here's an old IP that got revived by machine games in recent times, prototype of action shooters. I personally enjoy these games a lot, and I'm not a big fan of the genre, but these ones are a guilty pleasure if you will. They are rather short and easy to play, and I enjoy the cutscenes even though obviously the plot is not supposed to be the main deal for this type of game. The feeling of the weapons is amazing, and the game grabs you quickly. These are great games for short game sessions. Personally I also enjoy the setting that this franchise sets up. Wolfenstein: The New Order. This game is a reboot of the series, but it also acts as a continuation of the story, taking place after the older games. Set in an alternate 1960s, where the Nazis won World War II, The New Order reintroduces players to BJ Blazkowicz, a grizzled American soldier leading a resistance against the Nazis. Some people criticize the stealth mechanics, but it was very successful and totally revived the franchise. Wolfenstein: The Old Blood. This is a prequel to The New Order, offering a more detailed look at the events leading up to the main story. The Old Blood sends BJ on a mission back in 1946 to infiltrate Castle Wolfenstein and uncover Nazi secrets. The tone shifts slightly towards B-movie pulp, with zombies and occult elements making a comeback. Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. Picking up where The New Order left off, The New Colossus follows a wounded BJ as he joins the American resistance to liberate the US from Nazi control. Wolfenstein: Youngblood. This game is a sequel to The New Colossus, featuring BJ's twin daughters as the protagonists in a 1980s Nazi-occupied Paris. So the right order to play them should be The New Order, The Old Blood, The New Colossus and Youngblood. Playing in that order is the best way to follow the current storyline. All of them are available in GeForce Now, Xbox Cloud and Boosteroid. I think it's interesting to note that Boosteroid also has the older games, not just Return to Castle Wolfenstein, but also the really old Wolfenstein 3D. Tomb Raider. Well, I already did a full video reviewing the Survivor trilogy, which you can check here. But basically this is the reboot of the franchise with 3 stories that are somewhat interconnected. The games have a very strong Uncharted feeling to them, mixing action and platforming puzzles all from a third-person view. I think they're very solid games and fun to play. Tomb Raider opens the reboot and has a much grittier and dark tone than any of the other games from the franchise. It tells the origin story of a young archaeology graduate stranded on the mysterious island of Yamatai after a shipwreck. It was the game who paved the way for the rest, and to me it's the one with the better length, but it does look slightly less refined than the other 2. Rise of the Tomb Raider is where the trilogy peaked for most people, adding a lot of visual refinement, new gameplay ideas and new skills into Lara's character, and in general it made the game longer and more complete. Set a year after the events of the first game, Rise follows Lara's obsessive pursuit of the lost city of Kitez and the secret of immortality driven by her father's legacy. I can see why people thought this was the better entry, but in my opinion, it's a bit too long for what it is, and the open areas feel a bit weak. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is the final game of the saga. Lara ventures into the jungles of Peru to stop a Mayan apocalypse she accidentally triggered while pursuing the mysterious Trinity organization. It looks better than ever, and it's quite interesting, but again, the open areas can be a bit of a drag sometimes. Overall, the saga succeeds at mixing action and adventure, and the games are quite fun. Both GeForce Now and Boosteroid have all 3 Survivor Trilogy titles. The first game of the saga is also available in Amazon Luna if you buy it from GOG. Borderlands. This one is a saga that I played the first one back in its day, and I haven't touched the whole saga since. And it's not because it's not good, quite the opposite. The problem I had is I played not just the whole game, but all the DLCs that appear for it, and by the end I was really done with the whole thing. For this review I tried Borderlands 2, and it reminded me why I liked it so much back in the day. It has a brilliant sense of humor, nice aesthetics, and the general tone of the cinematics and the cutscenes are just brilliant. It popularized the term loot shooter by combining the mechanics of any first-person shooter with the gameplay loop of Diablo-like RPGs where you need to collect random loot from encounters to improve your arsenal. By the way, I know some people have been really annoyed by the new Take-Two terms of service, which has resulted in quite a bit of review bombing. But after digging about it, it's not really that bad. I will leave a link in the description if you want to check what the fuss is really about. Borderlands is set on the lawless planet of Pandora. It introduces players to 4 vault hunters, seeking a mythical alien vault said to hold unimaginable power. It has a distinctive cel-shaded art, quirky humor, and blend of first-person shooting and RPG mechanics which redefine the whole co-op gameplay. Borderlands 2 is widely considered the high point of the series. It amps up everything: loot, enemies, humor, and story. Players face off against the charismatic villain Handsome Jack, who has seized control of Pandora and the Hyperion Corporation. Borderlands the pre-sequel follows a narrative between Borderlands and Borderlands 2. This installment is set on Pandora's moon, Elpis, and explores Handsome Jack's rise to power. It features low-gravity combat, oxygen management, and new vault hunters. It experiments a bit with mechanics and tone. Borderlands 3 is set years after Borderlands 2. This game follows a new team of vault hunters battling the Calypso twins, cult leaders who aim to control the galaxy's vaults. It expanded customization, massive worlds across multiple planets, and an absurd amount of loot to build up on what was there before, but reception was mixed due to its writing and pacing. I think these games can get a little bit repetitive, but it's mindless fun, and as of the time of the creation of this video, we are about to get a new Borderlands. Supposedly Borderlands 4 will come out in September 2025, so just 2 months from now. So maybe it's the best time ever to jump into this franchise. GeForce Now has Borderlands 1, 2, 3 and the pre-sequel. Booster Rate only has 2 and 3. And I think Xbox Cloud used to have it listed, but now it has been dropped. Mass Effect. I know these games are a bit old by today's standards, but frankly, this is still a really strong saga to play and it's easier than ever. You just need to get the Mass Effect Legendary Edition and off you go, because it contains all 3 games, Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3, so it's very convenient and easy. Back when the first part was released, I played the whole game and found it good, but frankly I did every little secondary mission and it became way too repetitive. I should have gone straight away for the main quest and I would have probably enjoyed it much more. So it kinda turned me off from the sequels, but recently I've been trying the second part and I can totally see myself playing the other 2 games all the way through, because they are still great games and have very intriguing plot. Mass Effect is set in the late 22nd century. It introduces Commander Shepard, an elite soldier tasked with stopping Saren, a rogue agent allied with an ancient machine race called the Reapers, who appear every 50,000 years to harvest and extinct advanced civilizations. Mass Effect 2 is considered the peak of the series. It raises the stakes as Shepard works with the morally grey Cerberus organization to stop the Collectors, a race abducting human colonies. The game streamlines RPG mechanics in favor of tight, polished third-person shooter combat and emphasizes team building. Mass Effect 3 is the climactic conclusion to Shepard's story. It begins with the full-scale Reaper invasion of the galaxy. Shepard must unite alien civilizations to resist annihilation while navigating betrayals, sacrifices, and the fallout of past choices. Apparently, the ending sparked controversy back in the day, but the Legendary Edition update later improved it, so I'm eager to check that. You should stay away from Mass Effect Andromeda unless you absolutely need to check everything related to the franchise, since it's a much weaker entry. I do recommend this saga, and the fact that currently one title gives you the whole thing makes it really convenient. Not just that, but it's also available on GeForce Now, Booster Rate and Xbox Cloud, so if you're signed up for Game Pass, chances are you can already play all 3 games. Dishonored. Okay, so Dishonored is another amazing and original saga with an amazing art direction. I will argue that even if it's a great game with lots of innovative ideas, just the whole world that we need to discover makes this a special treat. It's generally assumed that it has a steampunk look, but since there are no actual steam-powered devices, the developers mocked the tag by saying it was whale punk, since whale oil is used to power devices. Beyond the very strong story emphasis, the game tries to sell the idea that there are different ways to confront your tasks, but really, stealth is probably the most encouraged path. The first game, Dishonored, which you can now get with all the DLCs in the definitive edition, sets the action in Dunwall, a plague-ridden industrial city inspired by Victorian London. It follows Corvo Attano, the royal protector framed for the assassination of the empress he served. The fact that you learn very specific magical powers is used to great effect to allow for different tactics. Frankly, this game took the industry by storm, with its immersive sim style that hadn't been explored successfully since System Shock, Thief or Deus Ex. The second game, Dishonored 2, is set 15 years after the first part. the action moves beyond Dunwall to the coastal city of Karnaca, rich in southern Gothic atmosphere and mechanical innovation. It wasn't as much of a commercial success, but frankly, it might be the better game. It adds a second playable character, and the level design is really ambitious. The last game, Death of the Outsider, is a good standalone entry, but feels more like an epilogue than a full sequel. It stars Billy Lurk, a former assassin, as she takes on the ultimate mission, kill the Outsider himself. It's a bit simplified and feels less expansive. If you play the other two though, it's worth playing since it delivers a neat ending to the story. Xbox Cloud has the 3 games for you, and they're also available on GeForce Now, Boosteroid and Luna. Sniper Elite. Back to World War II here, but a lot more grounded in actual history as opposed to Wolfenstein. If we put aside the first game, which is not just very old but a different type of game altogether, the others, especially from the third installment, have gone in a very interesting path, and they play sort of a mix between a World War II game and an action-adventure as in Tomb Raider or Uncharted type of game. It definitely emphasizes and rewards stealth action over full-on confrontations, but at the same time you have to end up getting rid of piles of enemies in a very non-realistic fashion. Think of one-man commando operations. Sniper Elite 2 is the weakest link right now as it was still creating the new game style of the franchise. It has some questionable decisions such as spawning enemies and linear levels, but it had the best location, Berlin, and it introduced things like X-ray cam, which is a trademark of the franchise. It sets the story in 1945, which is kind of funny because that makes all the rest of the games for the franchise prequels for this one. It feels a bit dated by now and is much shorter than the others, but it's still okay if you're a fan of the franchise. Sniper Elite 3 shifts the theater of war to North Africa in 1942. It's both a prequel and a technical leap forward. It introduced open-ended levels, giving players more freedom to approach objectives with stealth, traps, or brute force. Carl now faces the Afrika Corps and works to sabotage a Nazi superweapon project. The X-ray kill cam was extended to vehicles, and co-op online modes were expanded, making it a more replayable and sandbox-like experience. Set in Italy in 1943, Sniper Elite 4 continues Carl's fight against fascism as he works alongside the Italian resistance to undermine Mussolini's forces and a secret Nazi weapon program. This one has bigger map sizes and verticality, making for the largest and most open levels in the series. Some improved mechanics and refined quality of life options are there too. Sniper Elite 5 takes place in France in 1944, just before the D-Day, and it's again a much more refined version of the previous games. It also adds invasion multiplayer, letting other players enter your campaign as enemy snipers, something that I personally hate, but some people love. Thankfully for me, you can switch invasion off. Carl's mission is to stop Operation Kraken, a Nazi plan to turn the tide of the war. The maps are even more detailed and sandboxed, inspired by Hitman style design, with more emphasis on replayability, stealth, and environmental storytelling. It's considered the most polished and immersive entry so far. Sniper Elite Resistance still plays in France, and it's still a good game, but it has been heavily criticized because it doesn't feel like a new full game, but much more like a DLC, which I can understand. Overall, this is a great saga, and I will definitely recommend it if you like the context of World War II and stealth-based gameplay. Batman. Again, these games might not be very recent, but they make for another exciting saga. The first one, Arkham Asylum, took everyone by surprise with a very nice plot and voice acting, as well as a fantastic gameplay that really made the player feel like Batman. The very nice combat feel called Free Flow was partially responsible for this. In this first installment, Batman delivers the Joker to the Arkham Asylum, only to realize he's walking into a trap. Joker seizes control of the facility, unleashing a riot with help from other villains. Arkham City feels like the realization of the original formula. It sees Gotham's worst criminals confined to a lawless super prison built in the heart of the city. Trapped inside after being kidnapped by Hugo Strange, Batman must navigate the chaos and uncover Strange's plans. Unlike the confined corridors of Arkham Asylum, Arkham City opened a large explorable section of Gotham. This gives the player a sense of freedom to glide, grapple and patrol the city like Batman would. It also added the playable Catwoman on some missions. Arkham Knight tells a story where Scarecrow returns to terrorize Gotham with a massive fear toxin attack, forcing the city to evacuate. And the mysterious Arkham Knight, a militarized anti-Batman figure, wages war alongside a gallery of villains. It tried to expand over the previous one with an even bigger play area with 3 islands that can be traveled seamlessly instead of the walled-off district from Arkham City. It also added the Batmobile, which sounded like the best idea ever, but it became one of the most divisive aspects of it, since those sections become somewhat repetitive and very frequent. Basically, many people thought it was overused. The game is not without merits, but when you ask around, it seems that Consensus's City is the better game, even if Knight is technically more advanced. Arkham Origins is the only game not created by Rocksteady Studios, but by Warner Bros. Games Montreal, so some people don't consider it part of the same saga. It's a prequel, so chronologically it will happen before Arkham Asylum. Even if it hasn't been rated as highly by fans, it does expand a lot on the twisted Batman Joker bond, so if you're a fan, you should consider playing it. Now, the only platform that offers all 4 games is Boosteroid. Xbox Cloud just has Arkham Knight, and GeForce Now has the main 3, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City and Arkham Knight. Assassin's Creed. Okay, what do I do with this one? See, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with the Assassin's Creed saga. I like the general idea for the world, and I had some very good moments with a few of the games. Unfortunately, I've also had a lot of boring times with them, doing repetitive stuff, and the guys in charge of the story have no idea how to do proper endings, with the ending for Assassin's Creed 2 figuring in my personal rank as the most absurd and ridiculous ending of any video game ever done. It's a really ambitious story, mixing a modern timeline with the ancient history and personal revenge, under the excuse of an ancestral fight between the Assassins and the Templars. Each game is pretty much standalone, and they happen in different historical periods. Of course, I haven't played them all. I've played a few of them, and between that and some general feedback from players, I can say that of all of them, the ones that have been better received are not one with the original story, as it was a bit repetitive, but it did create a whole world, and back then, just having cities to move around filled with people was not a small technical feat. It might feel a bit dated by now though. 2 was a game that was set in Renaissance Italy during the late 15th century, and it expanded on the first game. In my personal opinion, the game was too long for what it offered, although it did try to be less repetitive than the first entry, and then the ending was lame. But the game is considered one of the best. Brotherhood was very well received too, but it does feel like more of 2, since it's the same ancient world character. Not 3, that one wasn't good. 4, Black Flag is considered one of the best games of the saga, if not the best. It's basically Assassin's Creed meets Pirates, and it works really well. Unity was pretty broken, but Syndicate was the good version of that. Of the more modern games, Origins and Odyssey are the best ones, and you should avoid Valhalla and the last one Shadows, unless you are a completionist or an absolute fan. In general, it's a bit of a mixed bag, and it doesn't help that the company, Uvi, is developing a really bad rapport with gamers, with lots of bad decisions, mediocre games and awful platforms, and yes, I'm looking at you, Uvi Connect. Thankfully, cloud gaming allows us to play these games without having to install them in our devices. I would say if you're curious, definitely try one of the recommended ones, but if you really want to play the whole saga, get ready for a very uneven experience. Witcher. Okay, so of course the Witcher games. So this saga has a huge lore that comes from the books that it's based on, and is way too much to summarize here. You are basically an enhanced monster hunter in a fantasy realm that is quite interesting because it mixes up some established fantasy with a lot of Slavic mythology. It's also full of moral grey areas, and lots of stories end up with the humans being the actual villain instead of any of the weird monsters. So I have a bit of a problem here, because see, there are 3 games released so far. I never played the first 2, but I've played The Witcher 3 a lot, and I mean it, close to 200 hours. Not only have I finished the main game, but the 2 DLCs, which are huge and awesome. Now with that in mind, should I actually revisit 2 older games? I'm not sure. I'm not even sure that I'm currently motivated by the news of the new incoming Witcher game. I think I got a bit burned by 3, or maybe I should try, I don't know. Let me know what you think. By any rate, if you haven't played them, either you do, or you just play number 3. But you can't miss The Witcher 3. It's just one of the best games ever done. Bioshock. These games are pretty amazing, and you should definitely play them. They are direct successors to the old System Shock games, and they share that same mix of first-person adventure with some shooter mechanics, RPG elements, and a strong narrative that works so well. Bioshock is set in the underwater city of Rapture. It drops the player into a haunting dystopia founded on some ideals that have collapsed into chaos. You navigate the crumbling Art Deco ruins filled with spices and terrifying big daddies, uncovering the dark secrets of genetic modification and control. Bioshock 2 uses a surprising twist by putting players in the boots of Subject Delta, a prototype Big Daddy, as he searches for his little sister in a raptor now ruled by Sophia Lamb. It's a bit overlooked, but the sequel refines the combat and adds interesting notes on the Big Daddy and Little Sisters. It expands the lore of Rapture quite a lot. And then Bioshock Infinite leaves the ocean behind and takes to the skies in Columbia, a floating city built on American superiority and religious fanaticism. You control a troubled Pinkerton agent sent to rescue a girl and wipe away debt, leading to a complex adventure with lots of twists. Funnily enough, for cloud gaming you can only find them in Boosteroid. This final section is for sagas that I couldn't play yet or that I think doesn't completely fit our definition for any other reason. Deus Ex, I only played and finished the original very old one, but I haven't tried any of the modern games, which I'm pretty sure I should. It's on my to-do list. Fallout. Of course, Fallout games. It's a tricky one for me, because I did play the very old isometric ones, 1 and 2, but I never found the time to play 3, New Vegas and 4. With Fallout 76 being so mediocre and the games being so long, I'm a bit reluctant to play them now, and 3 does look a bit dated. But maybe I should, I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Hitman, I know. This one is definitely on my bucket list. I know it's a very famous saga and I should have tried it. Hopefully I will when I get some time. Gears of War. Gears of War has all the games ready for you if you're a Game Pass user. The game that arguably made cover shooter mechanics a big deal. I admit I haven't played a lot of this since I was never a console player, but having Game Pass I might give them a go at some point. Doom. Okay, I'm not a big fan of Doom, but let me say I totally acknowledge it's an amazing saga with awesome games. It's not something that I will usually play, and I am aware that since the 2016 reboot, they do have a story and a plot. But I don't think these are types of games you will play for the story, so I'm not sure there's a lot of people that will want to play them all for the overarching plot. Halo. Halo the Master Chief Collection contains all the saga for you to play, in a similar fashion to Mass Effect, and is available on Xbox Cloud and GeForce Now. These ones, I played the original one back in the day, and I found it okay if a bit repetitive. I think it was always more of a big thing for Xbox players, but yeah, it's ready to go if you want to play the whole saga. Resident Evil, Stalker and Metro games. Sorry, but I can't play these ones. I know they are very famous, especially Resident Evil, but I can't play horror games. I find it very annoying, and instead of helping me to reduce my stress, they make me feel worse. So I just avoid horror games altogether. I'm sure they are great, just not for me. GTA, Mafia and Far Cry. These are games that I didn't consider because even if they are the same franchise, the games are completely disconnected from each other and have very little if any continuity at all. And those are the main sagas I wanted to talk about. Frankly, I could almost make another video with some of my honorable mentions, and I am totally sure I am missing some of them that are super obvious to you. Feel free to point me in the comments which sagas I'm sorely missing here. And that's all for now. These many franchises should ensure you find something that appeals to you and keeps you busy for a while. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to click like and subscribe. But even if you don't, thanks for watching and enjoy your gaming in a relaxed setting.